the most common question I get in Discord and Twitter DMs and everything like that is how do I improve at approaching? And I pretty much always have a pretty similar answer. And basically, I figured that rather than responding to everyone individually, which is what I have been doing, it's a pretty big time sink, and I may as well just make a video and say essentially what I have been saying to all those people who have asked. So basically, this whole video can be summed up in one really, really simple way, which is approach with movement rather than approaching with attacks. And the reason why I say that is not because one of them is always better than the other. Approaching with movement is always better than approaching with an attack, and I'll get into what exactly that means as well. By the way, I'm in a completely different living situation right now, so if the audio balance and keyboard and everything is off, I apologize for that. Anyway, so the reason why I say that is not because it's the end-all be-all solution, because this is a fighting game. There's no one solution to everything. That's just the way things are. I'm gonna turn this to when grounded so she doesn't keep teleporting. But the reason I say that is because when people struggle with approaching, and when they ask that question, it's typically because they always approach the same way. And the reason why their approaches don't work is not because they're approaching poorly. It's because their approaches... Well, okay, it could be because they're approaching poorly, but that's another story. It's because their approaches are obvious. And it's not that an individual approach is bad. It's that the culmination of every approach they do just leads to them being a very predictable player that typically gets parried. And what parried basically means is the opponent is waiting for you to miss, and then they punish you. Basically, yeah. I think that's what parry means in fencing. I'm not a fencer, I don't know. I don't know if I strike y'all as a fencer, but I'm definitely not a fencer. Okay, so what do I mean by approaching with movement versus approaching with an attack? So I'm going to give a quick visual here with Orion as to what exactly I mean. And I'm just going to ask a really quick question. Hopefully this doesn't sound like I'm trying to baby y'all or anything. It's just like more so to think about how things work. So which is easier to react to? Like, which is easier to predict? If you're the Scarlet right now, is it easier to react to this? Or is it easier to react to this? I know, it's a really obvious question. It's a really, okay, yeah. Why is he asking this? Obviously it's the neutral way, and obviously it's two different situations. But what people typically do is when they're in this situation with the Scarlet, they'll do something like this side sig when they see that, okay, this is a horizontal attack, I'll attack, and then my attack will go into their range of where they are. Or they'll do like a sidelight right here and hope the Scarlet walks into it. So what I'm suggesting is that rather than do this every time, you can approach with your movement first until you're in the range of where they are, and then attack. Because someone trying to parry this, it's really easy. I'll show you all Scarlet has to do. Press spacebar. And suddenly I get punished. But what does she do when I'm right here? She can press spacebar, yeah. But she can't react to this. This is way too fast. And so it's about getting into the range of your opponents and putting pressure on them, rather than throwing something out and hoping it hits. If that makes any sense. So how do you effectively do this in a game? Well, if you think about it, let's put the Scarlet in another situation, just to illustrate a point. So if Scarlet is how do I put her here? All right, let's say Scarlet's right here, right? She's occupying this space on the edge, and I'm off stage. What does that do to me? That puts a lot of pressure on me, and why is that? It's because I'm in a position and situation, I try to say that at the same time. I'm in a situation where her attacks can hit me. Let's even give her a hammer to give it more scariness. I'm in a position where I can be hit, and I don't want to be there. So I'm going to dodge on stage, or I'm going to jump way above, or I'm going to hang on this wall, because I don't want to be in a position where I can get hit. That just makes sense, right? I'm sure all of you are familiar with that. So let's bring that concept to an onstage situation, right? If Scarlet is right there, and I'm right here, and I'm throwing out this side sig, right? She's not in a position where she's scared. Because this side sig will take a while to reach her. It may not even reach her. She might not even be walking forward. She's chilling. She's calm. But if I start walking towards her, alright, suddenly, not only my side sig will hit, but this side light will hit. This dash neutral light will hit. This dash down light will hit. So maybe she'll jump, okay? So let's say, because I'm walking towards her, she jumps. Uh-oh, now my nair will hit. because I'm walking in the range. But when she's jumping and I'm throwing out this side sig, there is nothing I can do that will hit. Like, this side sig will never hit her because she has so much time to react. She knows exactly what I'm gonna do because I'm positioning perfectly for the side sig. I'm like revving up, I'm even backing up so that it will hit. And then she just jumps over it. So the idea is that by walking forward, it's like, I know it sounds really simple, but by walking forward, you open yourself up to so many more options and being so much less predictable. Because I can walk forward and then walk right back, and then I can side sig. Or I can walk forward, anticipate a jump, and do an air. Or I can walk forward and do this neutral air, which she can't react to. Or I can walk forward, walk past her, do something like that, force out a spot dodge. There's a lot of things that you can do by just moving towards your opponent. You can jump around, you can mix in some dodges like that. And basically, the crux of what I'm saying is that it's not that there's one thing that you do every time. It's actually the complete opposite of that. Approaching with movement is all about giving yourself options. So rather than every single time you see the Scarlet here, you do a side light or you do a neutral light, because that's what you're used to, and that's like, not okay, this term may seem like I'm trying to like make fun of people. It's definitely the opposite. It's just to illustrate a point, but like reptile brain. Like, I see, I do. I see Scarlet here, I side light. But you recognize, like, what if you're on the opposite end of that? You notice that your opponent, every single time you're here, they try and attack you right away. It becomes a lot easier to predict, and therefore a lot easier to punish, than if they were doing something else, like walking towards you, dashing back, then dashing back in, then jumping, then doing this, then, like, when am I gonna attack? Do you know when I'm gonna attack? I know when I'm gonna attack. Do you know when I'm gonna attack right now? You know? Obviously, it's not that simple. Because Scarlet's just standing still, not doing anything. Let's give her a weapon. Let's make her attack, right? If I just walk forward, what if they throw something out where I am? Like, I'm just gonna get hit. I would much rather just do this. Because that's gonna win. All the time. Every single time she throws out this neutral light, if I just did this at the same time, I would win. So why would I ever walk forward? Well, here's the thing, right? It's not that you know that she's gonna do this every time. If you do, then we're in the complete opposite situation that I'm talking about, where they're the type of player that's just always attacking, and all you have to do is parry. There's nothing wrong with parrying. I'm just saying. Most of the reason why parrying works is because approaches are predictable, as in always approaching with a jump stare, or always approaching with a dash neutral light, or approaching with this side sig. Now, this side sig was an extreme example, but it's just to illustrate the point. But what you're doing by walking forward is you're putting pressure on them. Because like I illustrated with this thing off stage, I don't know if anything of what I'm saying is clear, by the way. I'm just trying to give a bunch of examples, so hopefully it makes sense. Is that you're opening yourself up to attacking with more things, to hitting with more things. So this Scarlet, in her effort to let's say she's feeling a lot of pressure. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Let's say she's feeling a lot of pressure because I'm walking forward. Her instinct is to throw this move out. Because if I've been walking forward and getting in her space, she wants to get rid of me. She's like, get out of here. What are you doing? And basically what you've done is you've instilled fear into this Scarlet. You've made them think that not only am I going to attack with this side sig, but I also am going to walk forward and neutral it. And this thing you can't react to. Maybe you can react to my side sig from across the map, but you can't react to this neutral it. And now this Scarlet has to think about even more things. And so it's not about always doing one thing, like always walking forward right into the enemy attack is obviously not something you want to do. But it's about, instead of doing a side light right here, it's about positioning into your side light and doing it right there. If that makes any sense. I know, I'm talking about it like it's very simple, like it's not a live game, and that you can just do it all the time, and everything like that. But the general concept, like, is to, I guess, ground pound off the map. No, the general concept, is the idea of opening yourself up to the approach, and creating an opportunity to approach, rather than always approaching the same way and hoping it works. So I hope that makes things a little more clear. That's generally the answer I give to people that ask me, how do I get better at approaching? But obviously this isn't the end of the video, so, like, what next? Why am I not ending it right there, if it's that simple? Because obviously, if it were that easy, like, I would be so good at approaching, right? Because fighting games are complicated. And here's the thing. The question, how do I get better at approaching, is a very general question. And the reason why it's general is because every player is different, every situation that you're in, the way your brain works, your experience and everything is completely unique. So when people ask me how do I get better at approaching, this is the best answer that I can give. Because it's the most generally I can't say this word, generally applicable. Because this is the problem that I see with most players. Or the problem that most players have when they're asking me. And so this is the answer that I give. But the true answer, like if you really want to know the secret sauce to how to improve at approaching, for an individual problem, you need an individual answer. I don't know why I'm doing like the same thing like over and over again. I'm sorry, I'm just like turning off my brain a little bit. And what I mean is that I can't know how your approaches aren't working. I can't know what you're struggling with because I'm not you. Like I know what I'm struggling with. I know what I suck at. I suck at a lot of things. And so the number one thing to do, like this is just one video, so you can take like some of the little information that I gave. Maybe it's useful, maybe it's not, maybe it made sense. Hopefully it did. If it didn't, then I can try doing a follow-up and respond to people in the comments as well. Is that the general idea of approaching with movement, creating the opportunity to approach rather than hoping it works, and mixing everything up. Like what moving, again, I'm going to reiterate because I think this is really important. Approaching with movement gives you the opportunity to mix things up. Approaching only with an attack every single time is just one part of approaching with movement. Because approaching with an attack, it's like a square is a rectangle is a square. Like, it's obviously not simple as you're standing still and attacking. Like, you are moving into the attack. It's just it's like one version, you know? It's one thing you're doing versus doing a lot of things, if that makes sense. But anyway, my point is that you take, like, the best way to improve your approaches is to take that information, look at your replays, see what you're doing wrong, like see how your approaches aren't working, see what you could implement, see what people are implementing against you and like why you're getting hit by it, and then work on it from there. That's the number one piece of advice I can give, is watch your own replays, especially your losses. It's hard to watch. It's hard to take that hit to your pride and accept that like you are not good. Like you are not good. But here's the thing. You are not good yet. Okay? I am not good right now. I do not think I am good. Because, I mean, it's all relative, right? But it's not that I'm just not good and that's the end of the story. It's that I'm not good yet. So I can look at my losses. I can see, okay, this is what I did wrong. Because it's all oriented towards improving. It's all oriented towards, here's what I'm doing wrong, here's what I can grow at. Here's I don't even know. Here's a bomb kill on me. So hopefully that was helpful at all. If it wasn't, again, I can try and respond to people in the comments and everything like that. Main takeaway, mix up your approaches, watch your replays, and have a good one, hopefully. I hope. That's what hopefully means. I don't know what I'm talking about. Why are you listening to me?